Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Coffee with Sales Engineers. Today, we have an amazing leader with us, Sandeep Madhavan. Sandeep, why don't you introduce yourself and then we'll dive into the question about how you fell into sales engineering.
Thank you, Sachin. It's a great opportunity to be on your podcast. Coming into this podcast, I was thinking a few things about my career as well as to how I ended up where I am. It's
Yeah.
all a sequence of accidents and inflection points in life, like they say, right? And I've been very lucky and blessed to be in my current role to lead something, initiative around pre-sales, which is just really exciting. So thank you again for inviting me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. When you were in undergrad or doing your masters, I don't know if you knew sales engineering existed. I'm pretty sure you weren't thinking, 10 years from now you'll be director of sales engineering at a big corporation.
Yeah, thankfully, I would say, fortunately, I was not a great student. And so I didn't get into the creme de la creme colleges, and my career didn't shape it the way that every Indian parents expect it to be, right? And so mine was a sequence of accidents. I passed out of undergrad, not knowing what I should be doing, got a job in one of the, at that time, a great company called Wipro in India.
Mhm.
And 2 years of working, I realized that I'm only doing back-end work in terms of development and sustaining products. I had an itch. The only way to get into product is to get into product development is to get into the US market.
Mhm.
So try to find my way through GRE and get to the US. So coming to the US, I realized that it's a very competitive world, and it was also 2008 when I passed out. Not the right timing. Even though I wanted to be in computer science, my field
Mhm.
was saturated. So I walked into a startup uh, that I could get hold of, and then they gave me a job. And it was very interesting. I think one of my traits is I always get into failures, and then I find a way to come out of it. So I didn't get a job. I was failing. And so I wrote to all the CEOs at that time of all the startups who were in California. And one of the CEOs and VP of engineering gave me a call right away. I like your approach. We're going to
Nice.
come for interview and see how it goes. So I think instinctively, my approach has always been let's try something different. That's me as a person, as an individual, which has put me into uncomfortable situations, and every time those situations happen, something new came out of it, and I just took it and ran with it.
Well, you had the courage to put your name out there and not be afraid of what somebody's going to think. And one of them called back, and that's great. Was that your first sales engineering job, Sandeep, or was that
It was
a
an
different?
engineering job, but I wouldn't say it was courage. It was out of necessity and out of stupidity. So you know how it goes for
Yeah,
people who are coming from India, right? You have a few days left, and you have to go back to India. So
that's right.
do whatever
You
it
gotta
takes.
do you gotta do everything you can.
So that's the reality. But now that I think about it, I think it makes a lot of sense as to who I am as an individual. So
Yeah.
taking action is very important. And that's what we as leaders have to do. We have to take action when we have to move forward. But going back to your earlier question, that was not my first SE job. I came into engineering role. I was doing kind of a hardcore engineering programming kind of work.
Hmm.
And because I used to work at a startup, I always had the customer pain point, direct access to the customer pain point. And I could understand the customer's intentions and the objectives. And what we think as developers is not what the final outcome in terms of customer use case and expectations are.
Hmm.
So that framed my empathy to how customers think about every product that they get their hands on. So along the way, I think a few years down the line is where some aspects of my life changed to think a little bit more deeply about how can I be more in front of customers and helping them do what I can do. And so maybe after 6 years of my engineering career, 6 to 8, 7 years is when I decided I should do something different. I should get
Hmm.
in front of customers. Which role can get me in front of customers? Kind of how I was looking at it, not
Okay.
necessarily to get into sales engineering.
But that desire to be in front of customers. So you already identified that you enjoyed that aspect of engineering, not just building stuff, but understanding and identifying what customers really needed. At that point, once you had decided that I got to be in front of customers, was it I mean, you can be in marketing, you can be in sales. There's many professions you can do. What path did you take then to actually end up being in front of customers?
I get this question a lot from a lot of young people I mentor, right? And so my way of approaching this was as a engineering person from engineering, it's very difficult to get the rapport of salespeople. So the
Mm-hmm.
first thing we have to do is find a way to get in front of them as much as possible so that they understand and build a relationship. So I moved from core engineering to something called a sustaining development engineering, which is basically an area where you are very, very close to the customer's problems, the account executives, and the SEs at that time. So you correlate, collaborate with them, work with them, understand the customer's pain points, and actually go and develop exactly what they want for the short-term needs so that we get out of those difficult situations and they make their revenue, right? And so when you become their champion, when you're making and giving value to those core people, then they recognize, oh, this guy has great communication skills because he's in front of customers. Oh, this guy has a great technical handle of how things are shaping up so he can build trust quickly with customers. Oh, this guy has a great follow-up. He follows up incessantly. So these are the characteristics and qualities that the salespeople are looking for around them. Is he a great problem solver? So when you're putting yourself in those situations, then you have a path to kind of knock their door and say, hey, is there an opportunity for me?
Yeah.
What would it look like if I were to be on your team? So you can actually poke some of these conversations and see whether you are a good fit in that role or not.
Interesting. So, was there a particular sales engineer that when you were working on this project that you observed and you're like, ooh, I can do what he or she is doing?
Yeah, I actually, it was the other way around.
You became the sales
Uh,
engineer that they wanted.
Exactly. So I ended up taking over all the conversations and driving everything. And when you're actually doing the job of what the other person was
Yeah.
expected to do, and even do it better, then you kind of make some, and it's become very visible. And also in these critical roles, you are in a highly visible role. You are
Yeah.
visible to the executives of all teams, product executives, sales executives, even the CEO. So your name is kind of visible and
Hmm.
you're making an impact. And so when you are making an impact and you're thinking beyond your role, then people notice that and
Yeah.
they want to make sure you're at the right place at the right time so that as a company we can all grow. So that's how great leaders think. And so I was having the opportunity to work with some amazing leaders who gave me opportunity and took risks on me when I went to them for help.
Nice. Well, you obviously, without being in a sales engineering role, sounds like you were already naturally playing that role in front of that audience that got you into sales engineering. Obviously, you've been doing it for a while now. You've climbed up the ranks. You've gone from individual being a sales engineer to now leading teams. What's been that experience for you?
I think the first thing when I started my career in sales engineering, I never anticipated to be a leader, right? I was a very focused, customer focused person, and everything the customer wanted, I wanted to make sure he wins, right? And so that's the mindset I had. So, first of all, I think the important thing is it's not about being a leader, it's about what is your purpose in an organization and how are you driving things forward. And I think that in an organization, there are two kinds of people. One are the misfits, who are the door openers and, growing the business in the first step. And then the second is the mercenary. I had a misfit mindset when I was starting my career because I wanted to win at all costs. So I would do
Hmm.
anything needed to kind of get there, right? So I was never a leader at that point in my career, but I worked for great leaders. So I learned what is the short-term thinking and what is the long-term thinking from them, how they build executive relationships to bring revenue continuously for many years to come. And so that was a great lesson learned. And when there were organization changes happening, as you can imagine, every company goes through transitions.
Yep.
And at some point, I got an interim role to take on some responsibility as a leader. And then they said it's going to be for 3 months, which ended up for the next 7 years of my
Of
career.
course.
So it happened by accident, but my mindset has always been, let's do the best thing that we can do in what they're asking us to do and learn as much as possible And even if it's 3 months or 4 months, it doesn't matter. It's an opportunity for us to learn. That's the mindset I've always had. And I think that's probably gave me opportunities to climb the ladder. But many times I took sideways jobs, right? It's not always about climbing, it's always about thinking about where can I make the biggest impact. And if I have to move sideways and take on some other strategic responsibility to kind of make a better impact, then we have to be doing that. And that's kind of what I feel was a little different from others is I always took sideways roles, I took strategic engagements, then came back to leadership, and I can did that quite a few times.
Yeah.
So it helped me build more trust, better in terms of communication with executive, upper management communication, and managing change throughout the organizations. When you're able to change within an organization as big as where I am, then you can actually find opportunities to grow along the way as well.
I can tell you're a humble leader because you're talking about what your personal beliefs are, and you've always kind of kept close to what drives you, what you think the right thing to do is. And I can feel in your responses, it's very customer centric. Either those are internal customers, your leaders, or external customers. You're always thinking about how can I have an impact on them, have an influence on their success. Love that the way you've described it. You get to uh, experience many SEs in being in a big company. How are you observing the sales engineering function has changed over the last couple of years? And also, with all this AI buzz around us, how do you think our profession is going to change over the next couple of years?
In a nutshell, I think this is the best time for us to be pre-sales engineers, period. That's how I feel. Why do I feel that? When I started my career, I was not a pre-sales engineer. I used to take on every aspect of the customer relationship, starting from engaging with them on all the problems they had, making sure they understand everything that we have coming up in our portfolio, taking care of them after the post-sales
Right.
situation they have, and thinking like I am part of their team, and if I am successful, then they will be more successful. So that's how it was, right? So that's how I started my career. So I didn't have that friction of working with an AE, working with as a SC, working as a customer support, working as a post-sales deployment engineer. I was everything, right? And
There
I
were no
had the
silos. Like you did what you had to do to achieve the
Yeah, and
results.
actually, I was directly reporting to some other top executives, so I got the empowerment and I got the ability to take risks because I have the coverage that whatever happens, I'm covered. So that's how my mindset was as I was building my career in sales engineering. And I think after that is when I went into these pure sales engineering kind of roles, wherein I had the of AE, SE, territory, account planning, and all of these kind of jargons that we are usually into compensation. And I feel for several years I've been in this mode, and now I'm peeling the layers one by one and trying to figure out how do we simplify things back again so that we as an organization are going back to a customer focused approach. How can we
Interesting.
think about organization? So the way I started my career and the way it evolved into usual B2B, compartments, and now how it's transitioning because of AI coming into picture, which is actually many aspects of the communication between us and customer, right from prospecting, right from CRM, right from RFP support. Everything is getting simplified in how we can, and the data is everywhere for us to get insights quickly. So it is no longer needed, I believe, in the future to have this whole siloed approach of how we manage a customer. And so if you think about it that way, who is the most critical person who can manage that? Is it the person who has the technical ability to understand everything around him, the person who can communicate better, everything around him, and the person who can build relationships. And
Mm-hmm.
as engineers, if you had the great leader to work with, right, then you would be developing skill sets in all three areas. And so with AI support, I think pre-sales engineering is going to be the most important, skill set organizations and companies will need to take them to the next level. So that's kind of how I feel it'll gonna evolve. I'm fortunate that I'm lucky and blessed to be in this kind of transition period and using AI on a day-to-day basis as well.
It's the human element, it's the connecting and building trust with the audience that we are really good at. That I feel like the more there's a lot of admin work that we have to do around our jobs, responding to RFPs and things like that. If all of that can be taken away by AI, it'll only give us more freedom, more bandwidth to be able to have even a bigger impact than we've ever had. And I think that's why I appreciate everything you're doing to raise awareness, because I think in this world we need more sales engineers, not less. But a lot of people don't know about it. So I appreciate all the thought leadership you've been doing on LinkedIn as well, Sandeep.
Oh, thank you. And I know last time when we met, we had a conversation with some Gartner. And coming back from that meeting, I did research a few things about pre-sales and what Gartner has written. So I bumped into a paper that Gartner has written on pre-sales, the future of pre-sales in the new world. And then they coined this term called a tool to teammate. So we are using a lot of tools within our day-to-day life, like you said, a lot of admin tasks and such. And so going forward, we'll be using them more like a teammate. And so when you are able to use them as a teammate, then you can actually delegate a few things to that as well. So that means you have some time to focus on your customers in the actual problems that we can kind of do more things and we can be even more impactful. So very insightful paper. And if your audience is able to get hold of that paper, then it'll be great. And
Honestly,
also,
send
if
it to
you have
me. I'll
access
make
to
sure I link that in the podcast notes. So
I
that's a
don't know if
great
it's
that's a great insight.
public, so I got access through a few our audience to at least understand how pre-sales will evolve in the AI. Because I think that's the question that everybody's asking.
Best time to be in sales engineering and best time for us to be raising awareness for sales engineering. So I really appreciate you coming on this podcast, Sandeep, sharing your journey with us, your very humble opinions of how you grew from individual contributor to leader. It sounds like really appreciated, man.
Thank you so much, Sachin. Really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to join your podcast today.